All right, guys, 5 questions that you will see this year in your real estate exam to get your real estate license as a salesperson or as a broker. These questions are very well written, and we see them really often in California. This is example from our website here, our partner website, CaliforniaRealEstateLicenseSchool.com, and you can access these practice tests there for a small fee. And these tests are basically updated throughout the year and just kept up to date with the latest changes in the real estate law and different things that you're going to be basically asked about during the exam, during the state exam for the salesperson license and the broker license. Okay, first question. This is very common question. Let me try to zoom on this. Oh, that's a big. Okay, so basically, where is the money for like the home loans in real estate comes from? Like, where are they? Like federal bonds, or are they government bonds? And basically the correct answer, as you can see here, is individual savings accounts. Very common question. Now let's move to the other one. Now in this question, you're gonna have multiple questions like this where they're trying to test you and find out if you understand under California law if who is a minor and who is a person that is considered adult. And if they enter property purchase agreement or even a lease, any of these are like legal contracts. So you might see a question like this. We might talk about a 1-year lease or a 3-year lease, or like a purchase agreement, or even like a property listing agreement, and the exclusive right to sell for an agent. Any of these papers that are signed by a minor legally is invalid. Okay, unless if the minor is married or emancipated. If they're married or emancipated, then it's a different story. We're not gonna get into like all the legal details of that, but just understand that if you're under the age of 18 and the question is telling you the person is unmarried, or if the person is not emancipated, then you know that this was not a valid contract, because in a legal perspective, a person that is under the age of 18 does not have the mental capacity to basically understand fully the contracts and basically legally agree to it. So even though that person can be like really high IQ and they can be a genius, and academically they can have like a PhD at the age of 17, regardless of that situation and regardless of how smart that person is, legally speaking, if this case goes to the court, the law says that the person was under the age of 18, or it was a minor that was not married, or that was not emancipated. So basically the contract is not valid, and they can cancel that contract and win in court. So just keep that in mind. This question, or different the variety type of question like this, like they're gonna change it a little bit. Okay, they might, as I said, they might rephrase it, change the age. Instead of 17, they would say 16, or almost 18, like 17 and a half, but it's still under the age of 18. So just don't fall for those. Another question that you see a lot during the different version of the real estate test is this question that refers to basically what are the tax deductions. Okay, so if you're just understand that if anything that has to do with fixing something wrong with the property, a real property or a personal property, cannot be itemized as a deduction. Okay, so it has to be some kind of interest in a home loan or student loan, or even some section of your car, there is a portion of your car registration fee that is not an option here in this question, but just for your information, a portion of your car registration fee that you pay to, like, let's say to the DMV in the state of California to register your car, that portion that is specific and usually is defined on the bill, on the itemized bill that is basically given to you by the DMV, that portion of that amount can be itemized and deducted. Okay, but if, like, let's say your car breaks down, or your garage door is broken, or your wall breaks, or your bathroom starts to leak and the pipes in the plumbing goes down and breaks down, and you have to have a plumber come and spends thousands of dollars to change the plumbing and the pipes and all that, none of that is going to be considered a valid deduction in terms of taxes. So understand that just the real property taxes, charges on student loans, some kind of some portion of your car's registration fees with the state and the interest home loans are deductible. Moving on to the next question. Okay, this is a very simple, tricky question. Understand that the real estate law and regulations in California, it does not come from the penal code, from the, it's the business and professions code. Okay, so, you might get tricked with different, answer choices, like it's part of the Bureau of Real Estate rules, or part of the Department of Real Estate regulations, or part of the government code, or California Administrative Code. Don't fall for that. Is always the answer is business and professions code. I think we got one last one. Okay, and this one, I guess we're at the last fifth question. And okay, so this is a situation, a sales, real property sales went down the the WC, the toilet, or whatever you want to call that. Okay, so it went south. Okay, so you might have, again, this is just an example, but it might be phrased in a different way. The scenario might be presented to you in like 4 paragraphs, or like one big paragraph. But bottom line is that is a real estate transaction that went south, and it went into a disaster outcome or whatever, and somebody ended up suing somebody, or the buyer usually end up suing, like the seller, and gets the real estate broker, the listing broker, involved in the lawsuit. So they basically suing the broker and the seller to get their money back, and maybe return the property or whatever. So in a lot of cases like this, these cases might go to appeal. Okay, the seller might lose, and then might go to appeal and then win on appeal, or might lose on appeal as well. Okay, so let's say the final judgment, when there is no appeals, everything is done, or maybe is a first judgment, but whoever the judgment was given against, like the seller, decides to not appeal that decision and accept their fault. It happens sometimes because of the legal costs of litigation. They don't want to go back in court and fight this again. So they're like, okay, we lost, we'll just leave it as it is, and we'll try to satisfy the judgment. And sometimes the brokers and the seller, they just disappear, because it's a civil lawsuit, and the burden is on the buyer to go and try to collect once that judgment is given to the buyer. So sometimes they disappear, they go out of business, and it's going to be a very difficult task for the buyer to basically try to collect on that judgment. All of that being said, understand that the next step for the buyer usually is to file a complaint with the real estate commissioner. Okay, so if they get a judgment against a real estate broker and a seller, or a real estate salesperson, usually when the real estate salesperson is involved, the broker of that salesperson is also involved. So once they file their complaint with the real estate commissioner, you see a lot of answer choices are like, oh, revoke the broker's license, or suspend it. It's a very overly exaggerated answers. Okay, so you want to understand that even the real estate broker, real estate commissioner, has to respect certain administrative procedures and due process toward the licensees. Okay, even though he has the authority to suspend, but usually by law, by regulation, they have to always act as if you are innocent until proven guilty. So even when the judgment is filed with the real estate commissioner, then the real estate commissioner file an accusation document and then proceed into like investigating and find out what's going on. And usually after that, yeah, they would end up like suspending or revoking the license and giving like sanctions and things like that, you know. So but understand that it's not a straightforward process. Like, I mean, it is a straightforward process, but it's not automatically they would go and basically drop the punishment immediately on the broker. They're gonna have to give due process. They're gonna have to respect certain steps to make sure that okay, that broker was really at fault. You know, so a lot of cases sometimes you know, they end up revoking, suspending, giving a warning, or whatever the case it is. You know, they can go forward. But a lot of time, yeah, they end up suspending the license or revoking the license. Those are the most common type of punishment that real estate commissioner usually gives to the licensees. Okay, so that's it. These are like the 5 questions that you will see in your exam if you're taking the salesperson real estate exam in California to get your salesperson license, or even if you're taking the broker exam. For more preparation, more practice tests, go to our partner website, the California Real Estate License School.com, which is the partner and the sponsor of this video, and you can sign up for a small fee and take advantage of these great practice tests. And once you score really high on all these practice tests, then you're ready to take the exam, and you can, with confidence, sit at the exam and take it and hopefully score a great score and get your license. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.